All right, peace, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, give an honor and praise to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. Give a double honors to 7130 South Chicago that taught me this truth. Give a double honors to all the brothers and sisters that the Creator has awoken in these last days. With that being said, peace and shalom. All right, brothers and sisters. We're going to go into a lesson today. We're going to be talking about current events, the events that's taking place on the world stage, and basically why so much destruction and chaos. Most of our people, especially the so-called Negro, see, and I wouldn't even put that too much on him, even though he's fed the most lies, right? The whole world is not paying attention to the events that's taking place on the world stage. See, I'm talking about the masses. See, most of us that get up in the morning and go to work, we either going to work, we off on certain days, we watching a football game, which there's nothing really wrong with those things, because those are what you would call, that's the entertainment. But in the midst of entertainment, my grandmama, she used to always say, when I was a youngster, I used to love to watch the cartoons. Man, the 80s, well, we got a lot of our stuff from the 50s and the 40s and stuff like that. But then they started making things in the 80s. But I would say, like, the cartoons when I was younger, man, they don't compare to the cartoons that's being shown today can't hold a candle to a lot of the cartoons that we was looking at back then. You know what I'm saying? It was very entertaining. But back to the point, my grandmama, she used to make me sit down and watch Sesame Street, right? And I hated Sesame Street. You know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't entertaining. Everything, it would be entertaining on certain aspects or certain levels, but for the most part, it was educational. Sesame Street was a show for kids that taught them their ABCs and 1, 2, 3. See, I wasn't into stuff like that. I wanted to look at He-Man. I wanted to look at He-Man. I wanted to look at Voltron, all these different cartoons. And my grandma, she used to get on me about that. Like, boy, that's all you look at is cartoons. You're not paying attention to, see, you don't want to do your homework. You don't want to, then she'll say things like, spell this. You can't really spell it. Because why? Because you're not engaging into things that's educational. See? And now that I'm older, I find myself doing the same things that my parents used to get on me about. And I find myself now looking at the news and stuff like that. Or I don't even really watch television, cartoons and stuff like that anymore. I don't really even watch television like that no more. If it's not reading the scriptures, looking at the news, or something like that, I'm not really engaged into that. And see, that's the way society is today. Society is not really engaged into things that's educational. When I'm talking about educational, I'm talking about current events. A lot of us don't even know what's going on around the world. We don't even know why the war is going on between the Jews and the Muslims. And I would throw the Christians in there too, is because see, they're fighting wars just as well. See, we're not really paying attention to nothing like that. We're not really engaged into stuff like that. And then when you talk to us about these type of things, a lot of times we don't want to hear. Like, get case in point, right? I was talking to my wife. I was telling her that, man, do you know that, because I got the information from my elder, do you know that China is buying 100 million tons of crude oil from Saudi Arabia? You know, I asked her that question, and she was looking at me. She said, "No, I didn't know that." So I was trying to explain to her a brief history behind that, on how back in the day that Saudi Arabia was just giving crude oil to, quote unquote, the Americans. But now you don't see that no more. It's because Saudi Arabia has turned her back on America. So now she's giving all this crude oil to China, which has become what you would call an enemy to America. So I say, so what does that mean? She was looking at me like a deer in the headlights, right? She couldn't really tell me. And I say, the meaning behind that is that America is dumb, see? And she basically blew it off, you know? And see, like, that's the mentality of the people. Like, it just goes back to the Sesame Street story. Like, you don't wanna do nothing that's educational. You just wanna get things that's entertainment. And see, like, when I was a young kid, this is before I started going to kindergarten. Oh man, I hated school, you know. But before I started going to kindergarten, I would, of course, she'll make me watch Sesame Street, but I couldn't wait to go to sleep because I knew when I wake up, it's gonna be time for what? Cartoons. It's playtime now. See? It's playtime. Even when I was in school, I come home from school, I didn't sit down and do my homework right there and there. I wanna watch television, you know. I wanna watch cartoons, right? I wasn't watching nothing that was educational. And see, that's the mentality of the people today. They don't care about what's going on in the world. And see, what's going to happen there is when we start talking to people about the economy, when you start talking about people about the wars that's going on in the country, most people don't want to sit down and talk about those things. And then when they talk about it, they very uneducated about what's going on. Most of the news that people is getting, or the information, they getting it from other folks. They don't go back and they don't research. They don't have the mindset to say, let me think for myself on why these things are taking place. Let's go back into history and see what's going on. Why what's happening 30, 70, or 100 years ago, what does that have to do with today? We don't do that. Just like I was talking to my brother one time, and I love to talk to him because I like to get under his skin, right? Because he told me something. I said, do you know, because they was talking about the war over there in Germany. I say, do you know why the war over there in Germany took place? You know what this guy told me? He said, reason why Hitler was killing the Jews is because they nailed Jesus to the cross. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's not why the war happened between the Jews, even though they were all Germans. They were Germans, they were Polish, they were French, but they was practicing a religion called what you would call Judaism. See? And the reason for that is because why? It's because of the educational system, brothers and sisters. See, the educational system in this country has failed us. It has given us false information, and they have given us a false narrative. So, and see, that's why Hitler killed 5 million or 3 million or 7 million Jews, right? But that's not it. See, that's not it. That's not it. And one day we're gonna go into that history on why those things was taking place. But the point is that most of us don't do any research. We're not engaged into what's going on in the community. We're not engaged on what's going on in world politics or geopolitics just as well. And even when we get engaged in those certain type of things, we still don't know what's going on. It's because we have been fed the history or the education of the so-called white man. That's why the people, they're going to be led away. They're going to be led to war against these countries, and they don't even know why they're going to war. See? One of the reasons why we had the hippie movement is because a lot of them, see, they was protesting the war. It's because a lot of them got tired of fighting the war. Here it is, they going over there fighting against the Vietnamese and all these different people, and they don't even understand why they fight. See, they don't even understand that. So, off of that movement that was going on, that's why the Army and a lot of these different military branches, this is why they don't have a lot of members. It's because back in the day, you got to remember now, the son used to follow the kids used to follow their father to war, especially the men. They used to follow their fathers. That was tradition. Your grandfather went to war, his son. Now you finna go to the army. You don't necessarily got to go to war, but you gonna go to the army. Is because why? That's what the parents was doing. But see, you don't see that today. It's because why? It's because the people today, they started to they rebelled against that. See, right? But the war that's finna happen, brothers and sisters, the war that is happening. See, this is happening. The war that's happening is fought between who? It's fought between Christians, Jews, and Muslims. That's what the war is being fought. See, and that's really what the Third World War is going to be fought between. It's going to be fought between Christians, Jews, and Muslims. Well, why is that? It's because all of them have professed themselves to be the spokesman of the Creator, but in actuality, what are they? They demons, y'all. See? They demons. And this is the judgment of the Creator, brothers and sisters. That's why we tell it. That's why you had the brothers, Watchmen for Israel. They want to go out there and fight against the Palestinians. What are you going out there fighting them for? The Creator got them on the track that they supposed to be on. Because do you understand that these people, they're gonna stop protesting. They're gonna start committing genocide in this country. See? they're gonna start. They're gonna put down the ballots, right? Or they're gonna put down their signs, their Palestinian signs, and they're gonna start what they would call sleeper cells. They're gonna start becoming sleeper cells in this country. Because the battle of Armageddon, brothers and sisters, is going to be fought where? On many fronts. It's going to be fought in America. It's going to be fought in certain parts of Africa, mainly the northeastern part of Africa. See, it's going to be it's going to be fought all over. So why are we sitting out here fighting with Palestinians in the street, getting hit upside the head with signs and all this? Because why? A lot of us is caught up in the middle of that stuff just as well. See? So with no further ado, brothers and sisters, let's turn to some scriptures, and we're going to go into some current events, right? So the first scripture that we're going to go to is Matthew, the 24th chapter. Matthew, the 24th chapter. Matthew, the 24th chapter. We're at the 24th chapter of the book of Matthew. We're going to start reading. All right, so, 1 second. 24. We at 23. We're on 24. All right, so, the 24th chapter of the book of Matthew, it says what? I'm going to start reading at the 4th verse, right? Because you know the 4th verse is key in what we talking about. And see, this is for the so-called Negroes, because see, we're being deceived out here. Because just like I said, you got certain Israelites that's in the truth. They want to be on the street corner. They want to fight against the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims. You got a lot of our people that's caught up in all these different false religions. They too is going to be fighting for these folks. And this is the same people that took your ancestors in slavery. See, this is the same people. So let's look at something. This is the 24th chapter of the book of Matthew. I'm going to start at the 4th verse. And it says, "And the Mashiach answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you." See? And look at us today, brothers and sisters. We're being deceived. See? A lot of times we're being deceived on what we're watching on television. When the president, under the administration of Barack Obama, you had black folks in the country. They was all in arms because of the fact that Barack Obama became president of the United States. Whatever he said, it was as if it came from the Creator himself. So when Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, all the rest of them, they declared war against They declared war against Muammar Gaddafi. You had a lot of people over here in this country. They supported him. See? They supported him. And look, it was an unjust war. The reason why they went to war against him, because see, because he went rogue on them. See, they've been trying to kill him for the last 30 and 40 years. They the ones that put him in power, and he went rogue on them because he wanted to gather all the Muslims together and try to pull all the money together that they had to set up a central banking system in their country that is going to be, I would assume that's going to be controlled by Muslims, the American, and to remove the American dollar. Well, why are they doing that, Yahshua? It's because, see, throughout the years, they classified the Islamic community as what? Terrorists. See? So when you classify the people as terrorists and the whole world, the masses follow suit, then you can do whatever you want to do to those people. You can as long as you put it in the media and people bite to it, you can go down there, you can bomb these people, you can do whatever you want to do with these people, right? So you had people like Muammar Gaddafi, you had people like Saddam Hussein. They started to try to dump the American dollar per se and try to do things with a currency that they gonna create. And who's doing it now? You have what you would call the BRICS, brothers and sisters. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They doing it right now. See? They're dumping the American dollar. And they're setting up their own currency. And what is one of the currencies that's being set up by China, that they're buying 100 million tons of crude oil from Saudi Arabia? It's the yuan, see? And the yuan is backed by it. The yuan is the Chinese currency. They don't need the American currency anymore. So we already see this thing taking place. So why am I saying that you don't be deceived? Why he said that don't be deceived? Because the world today, they're being deceived today. They're being deceived by Muslims, Christians, and Jews, brothers and sisters. We have already been deceived. So don't make it seem like I'm being compassionate for these other folks, because why? They put you in slavery too. See? They put you in slavery. They robbed you of the knowledge of self. So it says 24 and 4. And Yahshua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. What? So you can't be deceived out here what's being plastered on television that is considered what you would call educational, brothers and sisters. You can't be deceived by that. 1 second. See? But look, we already been deceived. You got some of our people today, they die-hard Christians. You got some of our people today, they die-hard Muslims. And believe it or not, brothers and sisters, you got our people, they're following Judaism. They think that 2,000, 3,000 years ago, that it's a people walking around calling themselves Jews, brothers and sisters. So in actuality, we have been deceived, see? So it says, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the anointed, and shall deceive many, see? And what is the deception? We just said that. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, brothers and sisters. That's the deception. I would throw Hinduism and Buddhism in there too, see? But they the low-level crust of the situation. But we talking about the three major religions, brothers and sisters, see? Because all of them have came and said that they are the representatives of the nation of Israel. We believe in Jesus. We believe in Christ. See? We believe in the Mashiach. But the Quran says that's how they come. What they call Jesus, they call him Isa or something like that. Even though Jesus is a false representation of the word Yahshua. See, the teaching of Yeshua is not even being taught out here today, brothers and sisters. So it says that in the last days, you know, people gonna come saying that what? That they are the anointed ones of the Creator. That's what they doing. That's what the United States said when the Jews came back in 1948 to Jerusalem, or what they would call Palestine. That's what the United States said. That the people of the Bible have returned. See? They returned. The people of the book has returned. But what did Gamal Abdel Nasser say? He said, look, we would never accept you. I think that was around the 60s or the 50s, as the nation of Israel, because you left black, and what? You came back white. See? That's what Abdel Gamal, what's his name? Gamal Nasser said. He said that, I think the 60s or the 50s. He said that we will never accept you in this country because you left black and you came back white. Well, what does that mean? Now, that's a snippet to what's his name, Vlad TV. They keep talking about that he's Jewish. Well, you can be Jewish all you want. But just because you say you Jewish, that don't mean that you are an Israelite. See? That don't mean that. You just Isaiah 44:5. You just surnaming yourself as Israel, and that's what the nations have done. They have surnamed themselves after Jacob. See? What do the Christians say? The Christian says that they follow what they would call Christ, even though there's no such thing as that. See? But we're going to say that for educational purposes. They say that they follow Christ. But what did they do to our foreparents, the Christians? They put us in slavery. We got a Caucasian out here on television saying that I understand that slavery was a bad thing. Well, why are you saying that? Because that's what you got to say today, because that is considered what you would call politically correct. See? I understand that slavery was a bad thing. But if the black community did not go into slavery, they wouldn't be able to hear the gospel. I gotta look for this guy. He's in my history in my phone. He said this at the church. I know that slavery was wrong. I know that hanging and things of this nature, raping and stuff like that was wrong. But if the black community did not go into slavery, they wouldn't have heard the gospel. That's what he said. So this is another. So what is the contribution that the Christian community made to our people? See, they forced us into a religion. See, that we didn't want to be a part of. See, and they made you become a Christian. They beat your back. See, they dismantled the families. Do you understand that most of our people in this country, if you ask them what's their history past 16, 19, they can't tell you? See? And why is that? That's because of colonialism. Because slavery in this country dismantled the family. So we read this scripture, it says, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the anointed, and shall deceive many. Well, where are you going to see that at? you got to see that in the affairs of men today. See? Because when they was coming to the west coast of Africa, when they so-called was discovering what you would call the New World, what is the religion that they brought to the people? They brought Christianity, brothers and sisters, and they told the people that they was of the Creator. But while they was doing this, what they was doing? They was raping the women and children. That's what they was doing. They was destroying the livestock of the so-called Native Americans. That's why you have to read history for yourself, right? I'm reading this book. I'm gonna take my time. I'll be trying to read too many books, right? But I'm reading about, I think about 4 books, right? Because it's all related to the same thing, right? But the major book that I'm zeroing on is the Portuguese slave trade, right? Now in the book, the Portuguese slave trade, right? It talks about how you had some of our people that they was calling Jews back then, even though during the 1600s and 1400s, that word don't even exist. But like I said, we're looking at it. One second. We're just dealing with that from an educational standpoint of view, right? You had people that was calling themselves Jews, right? Even though that word really don't exist. You had people that they refer to as Jews. That's what I would say. That they was leaving Spain and they was going over to the northeastern side of Africa, and I think they was going to the western side of Africa too. And they was basically blending in with the people that the natives that was already living over there in the land, right? So when you look at a map, 1747, I think it's 1747 map, and you see over there in the west coast of Africa where a lot of our ancestors were being kidnapped. You see on the thing, you'll see what? The land of what? What they would call Judah, brothers and sisters. So you gotta ask yourself this, right? If they're blending in with the natives of the country, per se, or these different cities and lands and stuff, they had to look just like the people, brothers and sisters. They had to look just like those people. But see, the educationer, he's not going to tell you that those are your people. He going to make you think that it's the Caucasian, because that's why the term Jew is put in all the books today. Because we got to understand, brothers and sisters, look, the conqueror, when he conquers, he rewrites education. See, the conqueror writes education. So whatever he puts down in education, that's what you gonna eat off of. See, that's the nourishment, that's the bread, that's the meat, that's the fruits and the vegetables from the educational system that we're eating. See, right? So every time you hear the word Jew, what's gonna pop in your head? A white person. See. So when you hear the Jews write their history, how they was all over the place and stuff, every time you hear the word Jew, the white man gonna pop up in your head. But in actuality, it's you. See, it's our people that's migrating from different areas trying to escape persecution. Right? So one of the things that was in the book, right, was that during that time, and you got to go back to the 1400s, that's why you got to read that book called Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, right? It's because This is the 1400s during the Renaissance era, which is, I believe, Renaissance, I believe that it means new birth, right? Or rebirth or something like that, right? During the time of Renaissance, they came into the knowledge of what you would call map making. Well, they was making these maps. And the reason for them doing this is because, see, in order for you to circumnavigate the seas, you got to have maps and stuff like that to be able to find certain things, right? So you had, it was this map called, I think it was called the Catland map or something like that, where you had, quote unquote, I believe, Jews that was making these maps, right? And I think they was Jews or Christians. I think they was Jews, but they was making these maps, and these maps were created so that they can, quote unquote, discover the world. Because, see, that goes into, quote unquote, the 2nd chapter of the book of Daniel, and I would say the 7th chapter, and that's during the time, and the 13th chapter of the book of Revelation, where you will have the heathens. They're going to do what? They're going to restructure or recreate what you would call the Roman Empire, brothers and sisters. See? And how they're going to do it is that they're going to do it through these different variances of religions, right? So the 1400s is the beginning stages of the Caucasian, when they start to circumnavigate the seas and things of this nature. But going back to, I believe, the 15 or the 1600s, because the 10 toes, because Portugal is a part of the 10 toes, they're in movement now, right? So they're they circumnavigate the seas, right? And they're setting up what you would call merchant posters and stuff like that in different variants of country. They over here in Africa. Now you had some of the Africans that was from the Congo. What they was doing, they was converting to what you would call Christianity, brothers and sisters. This is what they was doing. So now, because like I say, the educational system in this country is not really going to tell you history per se. That's why you have to read their books. You have to search out their history, and you got to be led of the Spirit. So when we make the statement and say certain Africans sold us into slavery, that's a true statement. But why are they doing this? It's because when you had the Portuguese, you had like the French, you had the English, you had these different peoples that was during the Berlin Conference and many other treaties that they was establishing through the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church is giving them what? They're giving them power, brothers and sisters, to be able to do what? Go over to these different countries and to set up what you would call Christianity, which is a byproduct of the Catholic Church. See? So we start going into the history, and then we start saying like, well, why is the black folks over there selling us into slavery? One of the reasons why they doing that is because they were converting to these different religions. See? They were Christians. They were Muslims. See? Right? And when the crown of Portugal was setting up different colonial industries and stuff like that in the country, they empowered the so-called black folks that was calling it over the lands and stuff like that. So what are they doing? They take on that. They take on what? They take on the Christian spirit, brothers and sisters. See? And mind you, in the book, it tells you in the book that you had a lot of quote unquote Jews that didn't want to convert to Christianity. They were being kicked out of Spain, right? They was being kicked out of the Iberian Peninsula, right? And then they started to migrate back to the northeastern side of Africa. They're going to go to the western side of Africa, right? So what's happening to these people? They're going to be brought into slavery because why? Not only because they're going to fulfill Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, but a lot of these kings and these people of power, they started to do what? They started to follow Roman Catholicism. Because look, if you're a Christian, if you're a Jew, if you're a Muslim, you're a Catholic. See? And that's how we coming. See? So all of these characters are part of the Roman Catholic Church, brothers and sisters. That's why you got Caucasians today, even though they got to be politically correct, brothers and sisters. They got to be politically correct, see? They can't call you a nigga like that no more. It's because the 13th and the 14th Amendment to the Constitution has done what? It has allowed the Caucasian to hide up under what? His racism that he created in the country. So when we read the scripture, it says, "For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Mashiach, and shall deceive many." This is what has already happened. See? It's because a lot of our people and the world, see, the masses, they've been deceived. Because look, how are you gonna make Judaism, how you gonna promote the concept of Judaism, those people as being the people of the Bible? See, we was the people that was over there in Egypt. See, we Max Kellerman, we was over there in Egypt, right? In slavery, helping the Egyptians put up the pyramids. Because Max Kellerman, he's deceived also. Well, how is he deceived? It's because what? They're gonna take over the educational system. See? These Khazars and these different Caucasians that took on these different variances of ways of life, and they create a religion out of it. See? So the masses, they done already been deceived. Because how is Judaism or being a Jew is going to flourish amongst the masses? You got to brainwash your own people first. So while they sitting up here popping babies, they're going to set up an educational system in their communities that's going to teach their kids that the Bible is talking about them. See? When the Christians is popping their babies, popping out babies, they're going to set up educational systems in the country, and they're going to say what? That the Christians is the people of God. See? The same thing for the Muslims. So that's how these religions is going to flourish. It's because they're going to take over educational system via what? Colonialism, brothers and sisters. See? But if you tell the average black person something like this, they're not going to believe you, see? It's because why? Because if you don't have the mind, if the Creator is not in your consciousness, how you going to understand? That's why you can't get mad at so-called black people. So, it says, 6th verse, "And ye shall hear wars and rumors of wars. that ye be not troubled, for all these must come to pass, but the end is not yet. See? So who are some of the major people that's in these wars, brothers and sisters? It's Christians, it's Jews, it's Muslims, Hinduism, and Buddhism, brothers, because all of them have done what? They have deceived the masses. See? Who is fighting over there in Palestine? It's the Christians. It's the Jews and the Muslims. Who is going to war against these different countries? Who is America? Who does Donald Trump profess America to be? The presidents of the United States. They profess themselves to be Christians. Barack Obama, when he became president of the United States, he had to go down. He had to stand before the world. Millions upon millions of people in the country, and he had to denounce Islam. See, people they don't remember that. See, they don't remember that. And he went down to Pastor, what's his name? Pastor Wright's church. I think his last name was Pastor Wright. He had to become what? He had to become a Christian, because they're not gonna let no Muslim become a president of the United States. He had to denounce Islam. See, this is something that he was brought up involved in, because his father, I believe, was a Muslim. I believe. So, when the United States is going to go fight against Saddam Hussein, well, who is that fighting? Those are Muslims, and those are what? Christians. They fight. See? What's going on, man? See? Those are Muslims, and those are Christians that's fighting. See? When Saddam Hussein, when President Bush went over to Iraq, they declared war against the Iraqis. Who's fighting? Those are Christians and Muslims. See? When the Jews are fighting against the Muslims, who is that? That's Jews and Muslims. But what's finna happen, brothers and sisters, is that what? All of these cats, they finna fight each other. Because this is what you would call the day of who? The day of Yah. See? This is the day of Yah. And all of these cats out here that's running around here, if the Creator don't open up their understanding, especially our people, they're going to be caught up in the melee. So when we talking about the 6th verse, the 24th chapter of the book of Matthew, it says what? And ye shall hear wars and rumors of wars. Well, who is that for? That's for us today, so that we don't get involved in the nonsense that's going on. See? Because why? Because we're already in wars and rumors of wars. Isn't it a rumor that the country of Nigeria, that France is talking about going against the people over there in Nigeria? See? America talking about going to war against Russia. See? These are all what you would call rumors of wars, but in actuality, they're fighting, see? But we don't see it is because why? It's because Russia and America hasn't really fully stepped out in the forefront yet. We saw a glimpse of them stepping out in the forefront when they started to bomb up Syria, see? Because America, well, who was that going over there to Syria, bombing Syria? It was the Christians. See? The Christians declared war against the Muslims. And the Christians can do that because why? The Christians got what? Atomic energy, brothers and sisters. See? They got nuclear weapons. A lot of those folks over there in the country, brothers and sisters, I'm talking about these Muslims, a lot of them can't even defend themselves. It's because they don't have nuclear weapons. They don't have the ability to create nuclear weapons. But let's turn to a scripture. Let's turn to the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter. You know, most people, you know, we read this Bible, they say that, you know, the Bible, you know, I love talking to my nephew. Man, why you read that? Man, how somebody gonna prophesy something 1,000 years? See, this how ignorant our people is, man. This how lost our people is. They don't even understand that majority of this stuff that we're reading is coming out this Bible, see? But it got to take a special person to be able to go into the Bible and decipher what's going on, see? You ain't going to get this out of the church. See, these Christians, they don't want to talk about this type of stuff. It's because why? It's because they got the mark of the beast, y'all. And what is the mark of the beast? The mark of the beast is the philosophy and teaching of the Gentile world power system. This is why they don't talk about destruction. They'll say certain things about like how people gonna go to hell, but where's they hell at? It's somewhere in the outer limits. See? Somewhere in the outer limits. They got you believing that hell is somewhere in some mythological place, y'all. This how gone they is. But let's look at this. Let's turn to the book of Joel. And I'm going to start at the 9th verse. 3rd chapter, the 9th verse. It says, proclaim ye this amongst the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. And let them come up. It says what? Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. And let the weak say, I am strong. See? Because now we see a lot of these people that practice Islam, they starting to strengthen themselves. See, the United States is always talking about how they, quote unquote, is going to defend the Jews or the Israeli people. But they don't talk about in 2000, I believe it was 2012, they don't talk about how the Israeli government or the assassins for the Israeli government, how they was running around assassinating what's that, Iranian or Persian scientists. They don't tell that. Because the Persians, which is the modern day Iranians, they had got technology to do what? To build up they nuclear weapon systems and stuff like that. And see, another thing too, atomic energy is not just really just for nuclear weapons. It's to deal with, you know, those people, they don't have lights and stuff like that. They're living in the Stone Age, y'all. See? A lot of the stuff, a lot of the goodies, like I'm standing downtown, right? I'm standing right next to a restaurant. You can't see it, but one of the restaurants said Lakeview Market, Yoke, breakfast and lunch, hand and stone, massage and facial spa, right? They don't have that type of stuff in their country. They don't really have hotels and stuff like they probably have stuff like that, but it's what? Man, run down jalopy. See? They don't have those types. So atomic energy can be used for good, and it can be used for what? Evil, brother. So now you got the Persians, the Iranians, they're learning how to do what? Split the atom. So one of the major things that was the Israelis was doing, they was trying to stop them from creating a bomb. See? But now they starting to create bombs. To do what? To protect themselves. Because the Christians is bombing them. This is who bombing the Muslims, the Christians. They're supposed to come in the name of quote unquote Jesus Christ, but we understand when they invoke that name like that, who they talking about? They talking about Nimrod, see? Because let's look at that. See, this is who they talking about, brothers and sisters. The 10th chapter of the book of Genesis. Come on now. 10th chapter. I'm trying to hold on to my space. 10th chapter or the 9th chapter of the book of Genesis, real quick. Real quick, 1 second. I think it's the 10th chapter of the book of Genesis. Yeah, it's the 10th chapter, Joe. 10th chapter of the book of Genesis, and I'm going to start reading at the 8th verse. It says, and Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. It says, he was a mighty hunter before Yah, wherefore it is said, even Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Yah. See? And Nimrod wasn't hunting like, he wasn't hunting lions and tigers and bears. See? Who was he hunting? He was hunting people. He was putting people in captivity. See? He was committing what you would call genocide on the people. And see, this is the same rhetoric that's going on with these what? These Christians, these Jews, and these Muslims, these Hinduisms, these Buddhism, all of them, because all of them worship Nimrod, believe it or not, brothers and sisters, every last one of them. So when we looking at the president of the United States declaring war against another, this is Christians going against other varices of religions, brothers and sisters. So in the 3rd chapter of the book of Joel, it says, proclaim ye this amongst the Gentiles, prepare war. See? Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near and let them come up. See? They gonna get out of that. You know how they be promoting their religion? Islam is a religion of peace. They gonna get out of that. Because it's not a religion of peace. Some of the first people that put us in captivity was who? Muslims. See? I'm talking about in what you would call modern, like around, let me see. Islam started around, I think, the 5th or the 6th century. So when Muhammad and them was running around putting people in captivity, see, that wasn't no religion of peace. It was a religion of what? Slavery, y'all. And you got a lot of our people, they duped into this stuff. They sit around and talk about, oh, you know, Islam is a religion of peace. No, it's not, brothers and sisters. Christianity is a religion of peace. Jesus loves everybody. Well, if Jesus loved everybody, then why are you going over there, lying in the media, sitting up here talking about that Muammar Gaddafi is committing genocide against his own people. Why did you just sit up here and lie and said that Saddam Hussein is committing genocide against the Shiites or the Sunnis, or which Muslim group that he's affiliated with? See, in order to do what? Why did you lie and say Saddam Hussein helped Osama bin Laden in the attack on quote unquote the trade centers out there in New York? See? Why did you lie and say that Osama bin Laden used individuals to hijack planes to fly them into the skyscrapers that you build out there in New York? See, that's deception. And then years later, then you say that he didn't do that. You know, our data was wrong. You know, we checked our data. He didn't have nothing to do with it. Because you're the one that did it. Because you wanted a reason to go to war against these people. But in actuality, brothers and sisters, if the Muslims had atomic energy, brothers and sisters, if they was able to build bombs and things of this nature, and the Christians were unable to build that, they would do the same thing to them. And the same thing with the Jews. Because why? They all evil. See? They evil. So it says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, and let the weak say, I am strong. And this is why these nations, brothers and sisters, this is why they're gathering. They're gonna gather. Let's see that. 19th chapter will be done. 19th chapter of the book of Revelation, we're gonna be done. Chapter of the book of Revelation. We're going to be done. Chapter of the book of Revelation, 17th verse. And it says, and I saw an angel sitting in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great what? Of the great Yah. See? That ye may eat the flesh of the kings, and the flesh of the captains, and the flesh of the mighty men, and the flesh of the horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, small and great. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, so when we looking at this war that's taking place on the events that's taking place on the world stage, brothers and sisters, you got to understand that this Third World War that's going to be fought in the midst of the planet is going to be between these different variances of religions that the Creator has called to the great battle, which is what? Armageddon. Shalom.